Hello, we are Geeks Assembled, and today I'm joined by Susan and Alex. We're discussing a 1949 movie. Yes, we're going way back. Um, this time we are talking a classic movie which gets voted high in polls, by these film institutes that it's number one or it's the second best greatest movie ever. Um, this is The Third Man. Um, so we'll go to Susan and Alex for their thoughts on The Third Man.
All right.
So,
Well, here you are. Here you are, Alex. Um, yeah, this was my first time seeing it, and I didn't know. I kept trying to figure out what they were, whether or not they knew who the third man was. That was to me like the way the most interesting part of the thing is trying to figure out if they knew who the third person was, the third man was. And you, Alex, you.
I found out about this movie a long time ago. I do like the movie. They also have radio plays, about 50 of them that they covered in the 50s. Now, of course,
Wow.
we also know Orson Welles because of the War of the World
Mhm.
um, podcast, and of course, there's a lot of famous people in this movie in very small roles, like Bernard Lee and other people that became M in the James Bond movies, like 20 years later or
Yeah,
15
this
years later.
Wilford Hyde-White for crying
Yeah,
out
Wilford
loud.
Hyde White as well. Of course, as we know, it's very strange if he's an American that he has a sort of a stereotypical name in a way too. But he is worse than a scoundrel because to make a buck, he might commit murder or practically murder, which is not good, of course.
yeah,
So that gives you a partial hint. I don't want to give everything away. I love the theme song, but yeah, it's not exactly great. That and there are other movies like Crisscross, which is another movie where the selfish and the evil people kind of get their way. There was another movie called DOA, which was remade, Dead on Arrival,
Uh huh.
where in that movie the guy gets poisoned, and then he spends the whole movie, trying to figure out who poisoned him and why. So it is sort of in that kind of universe. That sort of might makes right. The ends justify the means, which is not good, and it's not moral in a society.
Right.
And Harry Lime didn't have to do what he did too. So that's another issue that it's sort of the movie answers itself, but it also kind of like I said, then you have the radio or the audio plays where they go back to the beginning. So they sort of rehash this movie in like 2 minutes. And then you have to go, the story then begins with how many women and girls he betrays, how many friends he betrays because, money or convenience or, like in this movie, 700 pounds to dilute penicillin, which is not a good idea, especially for kids.
Oh my God.
So even though I've kind of given I've given the reason away,
But that,
but yeah,
the way that they're treating him
yeah,
like a serious serial killer, and I mean, it wasn't that reason precisely. He was a killer, but it wasn't like he was individually killing one after another. It was that he was doing these wholesale things because of you know
Rude.
Well,
Greed,
no,
yeah,
no.
yeah,
I mean,
diluting penicillin
I
and
mean, it's
stuff.
kind of ironic too. You know, just like you said, DOA. It's not good to poison somebody and then kind of go, well, you know, it's your fault for drinking the poison when he didn't know it was poison. You know what I mean? So I
Well,
don't know. I
right?
don't know if that's, you know, quote unquote depraved indifference. I mean, obviously, we wouldn't want to have a society where everything is so bad that we can't drive cars because we don't know if they're going to blow up, or we're going to take medicine and not know if there's going to be, you know, you bleeding from your mouth or your stomach because the medicine isn't safe to take, you know, and that's kind of what in a indirect way they're sort of referencing here. Plus, he is being kind of a gangster, saying, "Well,
Well,
you
yeah,
know, I'll
this
do it for the money," and it's like, yeah, well,
is
until
fully
you know,
gangster
well,
behavior.
yeah, I mean, well, yeah, what do you call it? Sociopathy, or what? When you're so selfish
That's
that
it.
you don't care, you know,
Uh,
what your actions
he
indirectly.
doesn't, he doesn't, he doesn't care of the outcome for the other people.
Right.
It's all for himself. You know, with Anna, which I found
Right?
strange that still supported him all the way through the movie, right till the end.
Yeah.
Um,
Right through, yeah.
yeah, it's a bit he couldn't care less about her.
Right?
Um, when you had the other character played by Joseph Cotton, Martins, who fed her head over heels for her.
Yeah,
You know, he'd do anything for her, but no, she was always Harry Lamb this and Harry Lamb that,
yeah,
uh, covering this up, covering that up. I mean, it was a big cover up.
yeah,
You know, fake his death to cover up his actions and what he was doing to try and get out of being caught in. And you had the four four countries controlling the portions of Vienna after the war.
yeah. It just that kind of that was really interesting to me. They had a red zone,
Yeah,
which was, I guess, controlled by the Russians.
yeah. There was France, Russia, America, and the Brits,
Yeah,
and then in the middle it was international zone.
but the red zone was deep in Russian zone, right? And the other thing was is that they each had their own sort of police force,
Yeah, yeah.
and there was unlike, you know, a modern sort of city, uh, they didn't work with each other to solve this crime.
No,
They kind of
nothing's changed.
well, I mean, like, they're, in terms of like the individually controlled zones of influence, it was very much like Jerusalem is now, which the old city is broken into four parts. It's got the Armenian sector, the Arab sector, the Christian sector, and the Jewish sector. And the 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 Czar, the central shopping, is in all four sections. But the Armenian sector was like the place where most of the foot soldiers and Romans and battle people, the most of the militaries were stationed in that section before the Armenians moved in. Anyway, it's just an interesting sort of dynamic in that you know, I've been in Vienna, and it didn't have the breakdown like that, but this uh maybe it did, but they sure don't talk about it like it's a big deal right now.
I think this was when it was just after the war that was doing that. I think it's
Yeah,
totally gone now.
yeah, that's it. That's You nailed it. So it was, you know, the the main story was really like it I couldn't figure out what they were always trying to figure out who the third man was in the death scene.
We,
But
well,
the death scene was of a they used a different guy's corpse.
the third man as was Harry Lamb.
Was Harry Line?
Yeah,
Yep.
yeah. People saw three people there, and the third one was Harry Lamb. He was not dead. It was all fate.
But there was that other guy who they buried in his place.
Yeah,
Yeah, well, I mean, of course, you can see it if you really pay attention that even though this won an Oscar award for best cinematography, black and white, you
yeah,
can see if you really pay attention, you can see like the technical errors, the shadows are misplaced, like with the little boy in the street and other things that you can kind of tell. But I think it actually helps,
yeah,
ironically, with unsettling you in the movie because it's not the sets aren't bad and it is it does give you an impression of being in a city, but it's like even when they're talking on the Ferris wheel, you can see that they're sort of they're switching the scene like either left to right or backwards because remember
Huh.
when Harry Lime writes Anna with a little heart and then does the
Uh-huh.
little finger strumming sort of. It's like okay, but that's not because I've shown it to other people and they've said, things like, "Oh, Harry Lime is a mercenary," and of course, the Swiss did not invent the cuckoo clock. Um, but yeah, he's worse than a mercenary because unlike Han Solo, who was a little bit of a scoundrel, Han Solo didn't kill unless he had to.
yeah.
Whereas Harry Lime's like, "Oh, I don't care as long as I get money."
Yeah.
That's it.
Yeah. So
All for money, all for the greed of money.
yeah,
Um, and to have Orson Welles in the lead, well, as has Harry Lime,
yeah,
but you don't see Harry Lamb until good halfway through the movie.
yeah,
Or
So,
more. It was
what?
it
Yeah,
was it seemed like it was like 20 minutes before the end of the movie is when he finally showed his face and then they did that chase scene, right?
yeah, yeah.
yeah,
Yeah, it's to get Orson Welles to do that part
yeah.
wasn't a big part. Um,
Wow.
it was a bigger part for Joseph Cotten as Holly Martins. Um, going there expecting a job offer from Harry Lamb, but apparently Harry Lamb's been killed. So he was just like a duck out of water in a city he didn't know. I say you've also Anna Schmidt, played by Alida Valli, was a great actress there in this movie. Um, and I like the way they use the German language in this. They don't shy away from it. They don't have subtitles.
Right.
You know, if there's someone speaking German, they're speaking German, and if Martin can't understand, um, uh, Schmidt sort of translates or someone else translates for
Yeah.
for which people do these days. Um, as I say, you've got the British military there. Major Calloway, played by the brilliant Trevor Howard,
Trevor Howard. Oh my gosh. That was cool.
done many movies. Um, and so you've already mentioned Bernard Lee and Wilfred Hyde-White, but there was also a little cameo from Robert Brown in this as a military policeman. Now, Robert Brown went on with Bernard Lee to appear in most of the Bond movies.
Yeah.
Yep.
Robert Brown Robert Brown played the minister, while M played Bernard Lee played M. So
Yeah,
they would
right.
Well,
those
yeah,
two those scenes together.
yeah, back then. Yeah, because the other what was it? So, according to the trivia, Martin Scorsese really liked this movie. So this might have encouraged him to go after the mob movies that he tends to do. The fact that there's 5 or 6 people working on this movie, and it still wins awards, and it still looks very good, even with the technical, misdirected shots or switching shots.
Just
depending on the
just the
actor.
lighting, you said.
Well, no, I didn't
It's
say that.
visually stunning.
Yeah.
You using all the derelict buildings, and as you said, the lighting helps it.
Yeah.
Really
Even
well
though,
done.
even though you can see a lot of shadows.
Yeah.
But then again, that sort of adds to the creepiness of it. The other issue is Holly Martins is falling in love with her, but as far as you can tell, it ain't working. It ain't working. And usually, most of the writers I know are at least smart enough to pick up on that. Um, and apparently, too, I guess a lot of people working on the movie were on a version of Speed as well. So I don't know if that, according to the trivia, the I don't know if that also helped to sort of pace this movie, because at
And
first,
grind down their feeling.
right, as and then the other issue is, then when you go to the radio shows, it's a lot more obvious
But
as to
grinding down of the feelings is
yeah,
important because it doesn't have a lot of weepy scenes or yelly scenes. I mean, they do. There's a lot of fisticuffs and lots of
Drinking.
gunplay,
well, yeah,
drinking.
it's funny how Holly Martins is very anti-cop. I said, oh, so that would fit in with today's. But
Yeah,
again,
yeah.
he didn't. The cops didn't, except for Bernard Lee. We were making a joke about how many times he sort of pushed him or sort of, misdirected his punch or whatever.
Yeah.
Sort of getting in there to make sure that the punch didn't connect or whatever.
Hmm.
And then right after he goes, "Oh, but I love your books, sir. I love them. I love them. They're really great." So it's like,
I've read them all.
yeah. So it's like as long as you're not punching, I'll stop you. But after that, I love you. I love you. I love the way you write your books.
And he was talking about this other guy's author, and that was all these Western authors.
Yeah. Well, yeah, because people forget, especially in the modern age, that spy stuff was popular before the 1960s. Yes, it came back thanks to the British Avengers and James Bond and all that.
Hmm.
But there were spies before that, like what is his name? Sidney Riley. They made a very special and good miniseries with Sam Neill, who everybody in America knows from the Jurassic Park series, as well as Jeff
Right.
Goldblum and Laura Dern.
Right,
But
Riley, Ace of Spades.
yeah, exactly. And that was a very and of course, we've reviewed Tinker Tailor Soldier Spy. That's somewhat realistic. And I also love the Sandbaggers, but that's an ITV series.
Huh.
So people forget that obviously that's why it worked in a way with James Bond, even though he was a hired killer for her, for the British government. But in the Sandbaggers TV show from ITV, not only did they do a very strange reunion special with the American CA guy being homeless and making gay jokes, which they would not be able to play today because they're politically incorrect, but the fact that the writer of the Sandbaggers also died in a plane crash. So it's very interesting how he dies just before he swears to the press, "I'm going to reveal all the evil that the British, government did." And
Yeah.
the character in the show says, "Well, why not assassinate an American politician? What's the difference?" And now we see a guy in New York shoot a CEO of a medical insurance company. So it's kind of
It's true.
ironic in a way how this sort of, because everybody's mad at stuff, but you shouldn't go around shooting people and
Right. Well,
taking revenge and
it wasn't
putting
like
the law into your own hands.
he was the cops in this.
Yeah.
All the four cops, the four different
Right. Yeah.
zones had different police officers.
Right.
And those four cops had were trying to get Harry, and they came at him from different angles.
Right.
But the thing was is that they had the idea that he was a wholesale killer.
Well, I mean, Harry Lyman is in a way, but the issue too is the fact that the only reasoning in a way, and it's still warped and very true crime sort of thing from cop shows and murder shows and all that. But at the same point, just because there's World War II or World War II ended just as Harry Lime was, making his money, it still doesn't give him justification to water down a medicine that makes people sick or die.
Right.
No, he
Even
saw
though-
the chance and took the opportunity.
right. No, but in a way, Harry Lime kind of uses that as an excuse.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
He rationalizes it by saying, "Oh, listen, old man talking to Holly Martins. If you'd give me $25,000, which is a lot of money back then in the 1940s, if you give me $25,000 tax free to make one of those dots stop moving," and it's like, yeah, but they're not dots. They look like dots because you're on a Ferris wheel up in the air. They're still human beings.
But exactly.
Well,
You know?
also as well, you got the idea that he was going to push him out of there.
Right. Yeah, he thought about it for a minute.
He thought about it. It crossed his mind. That's a quick resolution to his problem.
Yeah.
Yep.
But it didn't happen somehow.
Well,
I don't know.
yeah.
But
Well, yeah. Well, because in the radio shows he's a little quicker on his feet, and unfortunately in the radio shows, because they have to because of the plot and such, the women are more coquettish. They're more what do you call it? Submissive than the woman in this movie.
Well,
the woman in this,
it's
right.
because
Well, they have to do it for a radio show too.
no, but it's because Anna was Anna was not willing to entertain the idea that Holly Martins was going to end up with her.
No, that's
she
no
had
way.
to.
Yeah.
I mean, because that is a game that some women play. Is I'm going to play you against you and you against.
Okay, but the problem is if they did it that way, that would have been cliched of cliched.
All right, but that's what I'm saying.
What I'm saying is, in the radio shows, the women are a lot more easygoing to Harry Lime's charm, to the point where some of the other characters go, why are you falling for this con man? Why are you falling for this?
But even for the other characters,
right. Yeah.
I mean, even for like Holly Martin's type characters.
I don't know about Holly Martin.
Yeah, so it's just that's what I'm saying. It's just
but like I said, Holly Martin obviously, the cops are smarter than he is. He thinks he's going to play detective, and that's all very well for a novel.
It was a good thing that each police military did come together to work together at the end of the movie.
Yeah.
Because they were working against each other through the movie.
Right.
But by the end of it, those scenes in the sewers was amazingly shot.
Well, because
those were really cool, like up and down, and the multiple like tunnels that they could have been through, and the stairwells and the ladders. I got so disoriented. It was really cool.
Well, no, I mean, obviously, if you have sewers that big, and if people are gonna occasionally walk through them or whatever, obviously you have to have I guess in real life they did have a police force, because
of course,
if you're not careful, you could have an underground wet world, under there, just like Water World or other places where if you have too much space,
there are underground cities in different places. Right.
So they did have a police force there. because remember they almost didn't catch that he went down into the sewers. There was a minute there where they could have, forgotten about where he
or
was.
they could have not seen. And the other thing was those sewer grates that you lifted up. They look like teeth.
Yeah,
They were
it's like
all pointed.
yeah, it's a sort of like a staircase, so you have to lift one.
Yeah, but they looked like teeth once you got them up and
Yeah,
stuff. It looked like the ground was eating them.
Well, yeah, because obviously people forget too that up until the modern age, except for people that like when I worked for the state in Massachusetts, they even admitted that there's still sort of a underground tunnel, not a real tunnel, but like a pathway that they can memorize, just like in New York. There's an emergency code that everybody knows for a big disaster or a big event that they can all, if they really have to go, they'll go and they'll converge. And
A
people,
muster point
right,
underground.
right. In other words, people forget that that's one of the other benefits of the modern age, except for maybe the cameras
Yeah,
or other things.
but
That
on
that
this
that you- right that in a lot of countries there were
it,
underground tunnels
in
and
this one
underground,
it was
railroad
all
and such.
it was all sewer. So that's
Well,
what those.
well, like I said, this was also this also after World War II. So
Everything
I
on
don't know.
top was bombed.
Right, that too. So people are forgetting that even though a lot of people online say, "Oh, the baby boomers are terrible," this is definitely in the baby boomer, universe. Even though it might be a different country, but it's still the same. And like I said, that's the weird thing because Harry Lime is not a hero; he's an anti-hero, and he's a very selfish
Gosh, he
guy.
totally is exactly right.
So even in the radio shows, they have moments and minutes where women and men are saying, are you lying to me, Harry? Are you betraying me, Harry? Are you? And then you find out, depending on what the
Crime is.
crime is, that he'll either betray them 1%, 50%, 75%. The only other funny thing about the audio dramas from the 50s, and they're on the Internet Archive, as a matter of fact, too,
Oh, cool.
is the fact that when a blackmailer confronts him, it's like he's almost like laughing at him, like, you're a baby. It's like, I'm the kid. Harry Lime is like, I know blackmail. You don't. So it's very funny when, somebody tries to blackmail him or extort him, and he's like, yeah, you don't know what you're doing. I know what I'm doing. So that's very funny in the radio shows, because you don't know what you're doing.
I mean the theme music to this movie,
Oh my gosh.
the Ziver. You don't hear of Zivers these days, but
No.
it so suited the atmosphere of this movie,
Yeah.
and it was such a success in 1949, 1950. The theme tune spent 11 weeks at number one on the Billboard charts in America in
Yeah.
Wow, that's amazing.
1950, I think it was.
Yeah.
The artist who did it, Anton Karas, became a sort of a big star back then. Asked to appear on all these shows and show about his zither.
Right.
But
Oh,
but,
cool.
but they do. It's one of the most famous theme tunes from a movie.
Huh.
Yeah. Well, I mean, that's the other downside too to the modern age is that, as we know, from the 1930s to the 1999, music and theme and theme songs and all that, even in television shows, was very special. Now they're so busy to get you to the next thing to watch, you don't see the credits, you don't see you don't hear the theme music. As you know, in the 70s, almost all the theme songs had like a story connected to them, or like the Incredible Hulk, they had a story along with the music. And the only reason why is because they also composed that theme song at the end of the show that even now people go, "Oh, is that the Lonely Man? What the hell is that called?" You know, so people forget
Oh,
that.
Incredible Hulk.
Yeah,
Yeah, yeah.
people forget that music was very important. Music, just like we did with the Tall Blonde Man. People are humming the song after they hear it.
Yeah,
Whereas now they're so it's like a computer. They don't want to hear the music. They just what's the next window? What's the next thing I'm clicking? You know what I mean? So they don't have the time, and you don't have a lot of composing to say. Like yeah, like with Star Wars, the music is very
Iconic.
iconic.
yeah.
Superman, even with the new trailer, they only play a little bit of the Superman theme song, and of course they've updated it. You know what I mean? So the movies technically are the only, except online. I don't know how much music they play for a lot of movies online. But I've also seen a lot of
I would love to,
10.
I would love it if Batman had his own theme like that, like the Third Man, like
Well, he does.
something iconic.
Yeah, he does.
Yeah,
But
Batman have a theme, yeah.
yeah, but people forget too, and it's only because Riff Tracks and other places have done it. They brought back like the 1940s Batman, which a lot of people forgot, unless you were watching movies, in which case they also had
But
the yellow subtitles
okay,
and
but
the tune in next week and all that, and people forget that sometimes.
yeah, all right, all right.
You know what I mean? Because everything is now point click, fast, 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 fast. You know, even on YouTube, they're trying to make the videos so much quicker. You know, but that's a different era. But what I'm saying is,
Not the way
yeah,
Geeks Assemble does the videos.
right, but what I'm saying is the you know it sets up an atmosphere. They do play the theme song in the audio plays or radio plays. It was radio
Yeah.
plays. Sometimes they played it for like 2 minutes, 3 minutes. In the very final episode, they played it for almost 7 minutes.
Wow.
So you went for like what is it, 25 to 52 episodes. Because some of them are lost, some of them are not. Of either playing it very quick to introduce you to the story. You know, they
Well,
tell
there
you where he
was
got,
a
how he
there
ended up
was
in the
that
movie and
that
all that.
Harry Lime TV show also.
Was there? I
Yeah,
don't remember that. Well, wait a minute. Which
it was a TV show called The Third Man, and there were 77 episodes of it.
was there?
And anyway,
Oh,
so
that one. Yeah, but
so
that.
maybe
Oh,
that's where
okay.
all
All
those
right.
audio plays.
No, because I forgot about this. As a matter of fact, I did see it. This had Michael Rennie, who was also in the original When the Earth Stood Still, Day the Earth Stood Still, and he was also the Sandman in the '60s Batman, which we just kind of mentioned. Jonathan Harris was in Lost in Space,
Okay.
and I remember that TV show. I didn't like it because to me, the Third Man is Orson Welles.
Yeah.
Plus, Michael Rennie obviously had to play him nicer because you don't want, even back then, they didn't want a super scoundrel on a TV show. And of course, it's a lot harder to do every week and for ratings if the guy is absolutely awful. Of course, Roger Delgado was in a couple of episodes, who was the master in the '70s Doctor Who. But yeah, now that I remember it, I definitely didn't like it as much as Orson Welles, and I definitely didn't like it as much as the movie and the radio show. I remember there was one radio show where they opened very quickly onto a dive bar, or what we would call a speakeasy or a dive bar nowadays. And in the radio show, somebody gets stabbed. Somebody gets stabbed, and Harry Lime kind of goes, oh well, hey, and the Harry Lime and the owner say, well, this happens all the time. It's almost normal. And Harry Lime almost starts laughing and going, okay, so how bad is it going to be when it really gets wild? You know.
Oh,
So somebody already got stabbed and could be dying, and Harry Lime is saying, well, if this is almost normal, I'd hate to see what wild is. So,
Okay.
so yeah. So it's very weird that it's a character that's like it is an anti-hero. He is selfish and mercenary, but it's also almost tipping into evil, but he can't do it all the way because then you won't like him. But he's not a good guy. you know. So
Well, no, he still, he wanted to escape. He didn't care who he killed.
right, or
Um,
who got hurt, or who got hurt. Yeah,
yeah, he would have, if he had the strength to do it, he would have killed Martins, but Martins got the upper hand, and saw him off at the end of the movie.
Yeah.
So, and then they went to the real Harry Lamb funeral at the end. So,
well, yeah, like
ironic.
I said, like I said, the radio shows are very interesting. But one
Yeah.
of the, like I said, the best part is when somebody tries to blackmail him and he's almost laughing, going, come on, impress me, come on, you're not impressing me, you know? Because there's a couple of stories like he really blackmails the politician. I mean, he could own the guy for like 50 years. And in the radio show, he's like, okay, just get off my back. Don't come, don't come showing the. I'll do what you want. Just bury those pictures in your personal, as long as they don't come out. And so he's blackmailing the guy for, who knows, thousands or whatever. You know what I mean?
Wow.
But the politician's just like, okay, as long as you promise, I kind of believe you, but I kind of don't. But just take the take the 30,000 or whatever it is, and kind of promise to leave me alone.
And
Yeah,
what's one of the things that's really interesting about this story, and you get a little bit, is that the folks that you think are really cute in this are the bad guys, like uh like
Doctor Doctor Winkle,
yeah, and
Kirk,
Crabin and Carl and Major Calloway and the ones that aren't so cute. And Harry Lime, of course, and the ones that aren't so cute, like Ernest Joyce playing Baron Kurtz and Dr. Winkle, not Winkle, Dr. Winkle.
yeah.
I just thought that was really funny how he was like
no,
Dr. Winkle.
Winkle,
No,
Winkle.
yes, I know.
Uh,
And Hedwig and stuff playing the landlady, and all the all those bad guys being just cherubic, and all the good guys being just kind of like salt of the earth. I like that a lot. I like that dichotomy too.
I like
So
I also like at the beginning of the movie you had the narration, uh, a voiceover telling you about Vienna and all like that, which
yeah,
which was Carol Reed, the director of
yeah,
the movie. So, but I think it's a great adaptation by a Graham Greene novel. This.
yeah.
Um,
Well,
so, anything else you would like to talk about the third man before?
well, like I said, I mean, can you think of any other anti-heroes? I mean, James Bond isn't exactly a great hero either. But in the books, obviously, it's a lot more straightforward. Obviously, in the movies, they had to make it more likable, otherwise, you wouldn't keep going. Uh, even though in the last version you did have Spyfall, where the villain, I guess, who had a false teeth or a false mouth or whatever, there was a sequence in there because I saw it in the theater just to see what the reaction would be. And he sort of, the villain, I forgot the villain's name. What was can't remember the villain's name in Skyfall. But
Was that played by Xavier Bardem?
yeah, 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 I think it was.
Yeah, I know
So,
you mean. I know you mean. Yeah.
so he's sort of almost like feeling James Bond up and down, like in the chest and the legs and the crotch, and they kind of hint that maybe to accomplish a case, James Bond might do anything, and even James Bond says, "Well, I might have." I mean, I'm not putting it in the exact way, but I mean, in a way, James Bond is an anti-hero too, even though he's approved by the government.
but
but I love the
but
reaction from
the
the
whole
audience.
aspect of
Yeah.
being a spy is being a
Yeah,
scoundrel
covert or
because
whatever. Yeah,
yeah,
but I
A
mean, I'm sure.
scoundrel and a bounder.
Well, yeah.
yeah.
So, do you think that? I mean, you know, you're a connoisseur. Do you think the anti-hero is important, or do you think that it only applies to serial killers? We know how popular the Silence of the Lambs series is, and Anthony Hopkins, while being a very great actor, he was kind of hamming it up.
Oh
I
yeah.
mean, as much as I like him,
I mean,
and even as a person too. Yeah,
there have been a lot of anti-heroes in movies. I mean, one off the top of my head, American Psycho, Christian Bale, um, nasty man. Uh, but it it makes an interesting movie,
Yep.
why not have the anti-hero in them?
well, I mean,
Yeah.
because I bumped into some people that have said, yeah, but if they get too popular, that's sort of endorsing evil or saying it's okay, or saying it's okay as long as it's fictionalized.
I don't know about that. A movie's a movie, isn't it? I mean, most movies are fictionalized.
Well, yeah, I don't right, but I also don't know how many people are running to endorse the human centipede and those movies, which is also gross. But where
But
they
there,
stitch the humans together.
that's a B movie. That's not a an anti-hero movie. Anti-heroes are like Notes from Underground by Dostoevsky or you know the what's it called, Metamorphosis by Kant or something.
Yeah. Well, no, but
I just think that there are anti-heroes that are really um
Interesting.
interesting, yeah,
well,
and
right. So
that
yeah,
have
yeah.
that have a story that is solidly self-absorbed, but on a certain level,
I mean,
somewhat
is there? Yeah,
self-aware.
I mean, even I thought as even though I enjoyed the movie and the pacing and the lighting and all that. I mean, is there really any hero in the movie? I mean, technically, I mean, there doesn't
No.
really seem to be. Those poor people that took the medicine that he watered down still suffered.
Uh-huh.
I mean, there wasn't really any. So, I mean, is that a part of life that people
Well, those
are
that's what I was saying. Those four cops who are actually the good guys, who are just like the ugliest, salt of the earth kind of faces, but they turn out to be the honorable ones, and everybody else, all these attractive people, are
Yeah.
like the bad guys.
well, no. For instance, even though it might be going a little bit far afield, I've heard a lot of people, say, well, the anti-hero is good if you're talking about people do anything for money, or people do anything for war, or people do anything to get power.
Well, that's what
And
this
it's
this
like,
was. This was money.
yeah.
This was
So,
like American Greed. It was like
well, yeah, sort of
Vienna and
not.
greed. It was
I mean,
Austrian greed.
I mean, American greed. They hide
Uh,
behind a startup, or they hide behind a company, even
or
though
they
it's
don't. They have been okay. They've
yeah.
had the anti-heroes.
No. But again, Lee, though, is it really important in cinema? Do you think to have? I mean, then you go to the other extreme where people say, "Well, the villain's too easy. I want my villain complex or whatever." It's kind of like, okay, you know,
Well,
not
that's why I
yeah,
like the villains that I like. That's
right,
why I like
right.
the actors that I like.
I like an interesting villain. I
Yeah.
mean, you want to find out more about them. What makes them tick?
Yeah.
Yep.
So is that also you may think of horror movies or superhero movies as the villains are too quick to
As,
see?
as actors have always said, villains are the best parts to play in movies or TV
Yep.
shows because they get the best lines, they get the best
Mhm.
scenes.
Mhm.
So if you've made it and get a part in a Bond movie and you're the villain, you're up there. You've made it because
Uh-huh.
they're the best parts to play as the bad guys.
Uh-huh.
Yeah. Well,
Um,
what about yeah? Well, of course, then like you said, James Bond. Even though a lot of people have an opinion on the movie, View to a Kill with Christopher Walken, even though he has that sort of trope of the way he talks, or
yeah,
Donald Pleasance as Blofeld,
Uh-huh.
which, as we know, got imitated in The Spy Who Shagged Me from the Austin Powers,
yeah.
series, and other villains from James Bond, who are very. But then people complain that they turn silly because then they tell James Bond what they're going to do before they kill him, and he always escapes. But that's the problem. It's very hard to write fiction with no tropes at all.
We all have a good trope here.
Yeah. But yeah. So what do you? I mean, I did like the fact that Orson Welles did do the character. Like I said, the audio plays are a lot more interesting, and it's a lot
But he
more of
didn't
a
do.
character
Orson
study.
Welles wasn't in the audio plays, was he?
Yes, he was.
Oh,
He
okay.
was. So the only thing is, like I said, the TV series was The Third Man, but it wasn't the same, and it was very watered down.
Okay.
So it kind of felt like the Casino. I don't know if you ever saw the TV play, the Casino Royale with the American
With Jimmy
James
Bond.
Bond got called, yeah, Jimmy, and it's like it's watered down.
Yeah.
Anyway,
Well, anything? Shall we go to final sentence score?
Sure.
yeah.
Over to you two.
All right. Well, I enjoyed it. I would agree that there was a lot of interesting, fun parts of this, and the first chase scene was great, but then the last chase scene in the tunnels and the sewer, that was really cool. And I really liked the fact that I mean it was interesting that we didn't get the villain until like 20 minutes, half an hour before the end of the movie. That was really something. So yeah, I'll give this a 9 out of 10. Flooded tunnels.
Ooh.
Um, I do like the movie. I do like the character. I like the fact that Orson Welles had guts to not play an anti-hero slash villain. Like I said, the Internet Archive has a lot of the audio plays with him. I didn't like the TV version with Michael Rennie and Jonathan Harris. I thought it was too tame. So I think that would also, if Lee saw that, I think he'd go that the TV show almost proves my point
Okay,
that you
so
that you need an interesting villain.
okay, so I'm just gonna ask
Yeah.
you if you separate just the movie out all by itself, what would you give the
No,
movie?
the movie taught me a lot of things, and it also taught me a lot of because I would show it to people and they'd have their own reaction to it.
Okay, what would you score it out of 10?
Because I like Orson Welles and because I like the fact that he was gutsy to play it on movies and radio. I like it a lot. But yeah, hopefully everybody understands that this is fictionalized. Don't do this at home.
Right. So how many points would you give it out of 10?
I'd give it a 9 because this is one of the few villains that I was exposed to, before Darth Vader, before the quote unquote other big famous villains of the last,
And
35 years.
and you don't ever give anything a 10, right?
No, I rarely give things a 10. But like I said, I also like the audio plays, and like I said, I love the reactions that he gives
Gave it a
to
9.
people.
You believe it? That's
I love
some.
I love the reaction that he gives to people,
Are you
especially of the
you guys can react to that. That's
of the
amazing.
yeah.
Um,
of the extortion and the blackmail and how he's
Uh-huh.
laughing in people's faces
Okay.
when they when they try to threaten him in the radio.
Okay, let's throw it back
shows.
to Lee.
Yeah.
1949, black and white movie.
Uh,
The pace is brilliant. As you said, the lighting, the cinematography, brilliant. I agree with Susan to get the villain nearly at the end of the movie. And I wish that is it the Gen Z population would give these sort of movies a chance. Oh, it's a black and white movie. What you watching one of them for? Oh, do you want to mean it? What do you mean it's an hour and 45 minutes? It should be 30-second TikTok. You know what I mean? Which we sort of went on, mentioned it in this cast. It's an amazing movie. I'm going to give it 10 zithers out of 10.
oh, nice.
Like
Oh,
like
God.
like Alex, I like anything with Orson Welles in it. He was an amazing actor, producer, director. And for him to take that part and make it his own,
Yeah.
a great actor he was.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
that.
Until you get to the 1970s wine commercial.
Oh yes, with his big cigar. Big,
French. Yeah.
he got paid for it. Yeah. So that is our review of The Third Man, the 1949 movie. I'd like to thank you two for joining in on the cast. You guys out there, have you seen this classic movie? If you have, please leave a comment below. Let us know what you thought of the movie, and also leave a comment below on the video if you would like to join us. This video is shared across the social media platforms what we're on. All we ask is that you're 18 and over, because some things what we discuss can get a little heated or sometimes are 18 rated. So all you'll need is a working microphone and camera on the device you use. Please, if you subscribe to the YouTube channel, please press the bell notification button. Oh, I had the ring then.
Nice.
Wow,
Nice.
makes a change. So until next time, we're gonna go and play on our zithers, I think. So I'll let Susan start first.
Doodle-doo-doo-doo.
If you want something to do it yourself. Bye for now.